Welcome to News Centre. I'm Parikshit Luthara. There's more trouble for online gaming companies with tax officials knocking on their doors. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 the Director General of GST Intelligence has sent tax notices to Dream11 and Games24x7 demanding 49,000 crore rupees. This move comes after the Maharashtra state GST authorities served a similar notice to Dream11 demanding 18,000 crore rupees. The gaming company had filed a writ petition before the Bombay High Court in response to the show cause notice issued by Maharashtra state GST audit authorities. The company has been accused of improper classification of online fantasy sports gaming activities. In its notice, the DGGI Mumbai zone said Dream11 failed to submit the requisite documents despite many reminders. This information being brought to you by our colleague Timsi Jaipuria, who broke this story earlier today. To take this discussion forward, we are now joined by Bipin Sapra, Tax Partner at EY India, and Anita Rastogi, Partner at Price Waterhouse Co LLP. Bipin Sapra, if I were to begin with you, the All India Gaming Federation has written to the Finance Ministry urging them to defer the implementation of the 28% GST notification for online gaming. They stating not all states are on board yet, not everyone has implemented it. We're heading for legal challenges. What is your view?
I think it's a fact, and whatever information I have available, the GST, this law hasn't been passed by all the states. I think this is the first time that a date of implementation has gone by, and not all the states have actually enacted their notifications. What you have to realize is that most of the states where these companies today exist have passed the law. So Delhi, Mumbai, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and all major places where these companies have passed the laws. There are certain states which are yet to pass the law. There's one theoretical view and the other is the practical view. The theoretical view is that for those states who haven't passed the law, those states, the center has passed the law. So the states where these notifications have not been issued, this law has not been enacted, then they cannot collect the relevant SGST. And for interstate transfers which are ending in those states, the tax rate should also get modified. However, on a practical note, I think since this is work in progress and in the next couple of days, everything is going to be passed, because we haven't heard of any state saying that we will not pass the law. On a practical note, most of the companies would go ahead and make the payments for most of the tax. That's how the things stand today.
Right. Okay. So we have seen certain companies, of course, going to court and challenging these GST notices that are coming to them. Anita Rastogi, the government has said, and they have reiterated time and again, that the 28% GST on online gaming, this is not a new law, it is a clarification. And the Gamescraft case is being applied uniformly in all matters. So the retrospective impact of this case, how do you see this going forward?
Yes, I think first I'll give a little bit of a comment on the first question which you had raised to Bipin, and I completely agree with what Bipin said, that I think it's first time in the history of the GST legislation, so history is only 6-7 years, but for the first time that there has not been a unanimous introduction of GST on a particular transaction. For example, over here, few states have not yet amended it. And as we also know that there are certain states where, most likely the online gaming companies are really not registered. So if we park that aside, but still there will be certain states where they are registered and they will be grappling with the situation as to how do they do the compliances. They don't have the right to collect the SGST, which is a state component. Will they be required to pay on their own? And now coming back to your question, that the government seems to be saying in certain way, in certain interviews, etc., that they always felt it was the case, and they always felt that this is a clarification. Now, this is an absolutely legal aspect. We know that the Gamescraft case is there in the Supreme Court. Over there, the question was more upon 18% vis-a-vis 28% on distinction between game of chance and game of skill. However, the amendments which have now come in have actually quashed all those points, and they've said that whichever it is going to be 28%. Normally, when an amendment comes in, it's always prospective and not retrospective. Now, let's actually stand in the shoes of the gaming company. We know for a fact that here what happens is that people come, they play the game, and they go away, right? How is it possible? I think it's a huge difficulty for the gaming companies to actually collect the tax for the past transactions, which the players have already paid. And then what are we saying? Are we saying that it is the responsibility of the online gaming companies to still pay the tax from their own pocket? I think these are the legal aspects which needs to be sorted out, and I think the courts are going to sort out that issue, because let's look at this. This online money gaming is an area which has really found a huge amount of attraction from the players' perspective from the COVID era. And I think a lot of people who are so fond of it continue to play, and they will continue to play. Right? That's fine. But I think the law has to be very clear. And the words and the expressions mentioned in the finance bill, or which has now become the act, which is the Center Act or the IGST Act, do they really say what the finance ministry is saying? We always believed it was the case. These are the things which the court has to now look at and give an interpretation on.
Very important question. Bipin Sapra, if I were to ask you, now collecting these taxes from companies like Games24x7, Dream11, Gamescraft, which are almost going into 45,000 crore rupees, collecting this as retrospective taxation, how difficult or complicated is this likely to be?
I would say it's extremely difficult. On a colloquial terminology, I would say next to impossible. What you have to realize is the income which these companies are earning are in the tune of, on a very extremely liberal basis, 20 to 25% of the amount which is actually being the bet money which goes into the game. Now, what you are asking for is 28% of the total bet money which is being there. So it's more than the theoretical income which they actually have. If it's theoretically more than the total income, they cannot obviously pay up. They cannot pay up from their own pocket. And this is something which has not been collected. So till now, even if I assume a 20% fee which these portals were connecting, then 18% of that was 3.6. Now, instead of 3.6, 28% is being asked. So it's like a huge difference, and it's more than the actual income. So it's almost next to impossible that these people can actually pay up. So it's not about collecting this; it's about the ability of these people to pay up. I think that's what the government should look at. The GST Council should look at, and hopefully, Supreme Court would really uphold the High Court order, which has really analyzed all of these in quite greater detail.
All right. Anita Rastogi, when we heard from the CBIC chairman a few days back, he said the law is being applied uniformly in all cases. He doesn't see a middle path because there is a legal point of view and these are legal notices, and notices are going from both the centre and states. Is there any middle path when it comes to resolving this issue right now between gaming companies and the centre?
Well, what I also hear is that he has largely commented upon the centre and kind of left it open to the states, because states are doing also, issuance of notices. But there is no midway really. Either it is taxable or it is not taxable at that particular rate on that particular amount which they're looking at. I think it's all going to be decided by the courts. I don't see any midway here. Also, the urgency to issue notices could have been largely because of the fact that the GST audit for the period 17-18 was actually closing on 30th of September this year, which means that if any demand had to be made for that 1 year, it could be done only till 30th September. Otherwise, the government loses the chance of issuing a notice. And I think that could be one of the drivers why so many notices were issued in the last 2, 3, 4 days of September. And also for the next subsequent year, the last date is actually December this year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We've run out of time, but Anita Rastogi, Bipin Sapra, thank you very much for joining us. So clearly, we've not heard the last on this case. There will be more that will happen in court, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Thanks once again for being with us here on CNBC-TV18. We're heading into a short break, but up next, the World Bank sees global headwinds and forecasts the country's GDP growth for FY24 to be at 6.3%. A conversation with World Bank's India Country Director Auguste Tano Kwame when we're back.